so therefore you need money up front to be able to handle those expenses. But I can tell you that the $1 million is not enough, because if you just go back to the month of July on the treasurer sheet, the amount that was spent in that month was 1.8. So it would need a little bit more money than just $1 million, because your payroll a month, or is it more than a month, is $1 million.
You said,
Yes.
you
So I
said,
think it's like you do like twice, so you do like half a million, yes.
can you go back to that screen that said 3.36?
I mean, this one has 3.36.
No, it was bigger.
Oh,
I
sorry.
could see those.
This one.
Yeah. When you were at the screen, you said you spoke to Dr. Carter, and
It was in our joint meeting together. It was all three of us in a meeting together when we was talking about, and I asked the question, what would you like for your outcomes today?
and he asked that we approve. So he knew there was overage.
Well,
Is Dr. Carter on Zoom? Do we know?
no, we did not set up Zoom.
He was supposed to be zoomed in, so
It was-
this wouldn't happen.
It was Tuesday, July 22nd. Now, the request for the Zoom meeting went to whom? Now, at that meeting, he did indicate that he would have his representative here,
No.
and that his representative would be prepared to
What
speak.
he said to Christina Boone, excuse me, which is me, is that his representative, Dr. Ricks, would be here and he would be on Zoom. My prior conversation with Mayor Kaplan
Mhm.
here was that I had asked if the meeting can be pushed so he can physically be here. I didn't get a response, which meant we went ahead with this meeting so he can be on Zoom, so we wouldn't go through under the insinuation that this is going on and he had no acknowledgement of it. And that's per my conversation. I'm Christina Boone.
That's
You had a
right.
Conversation with me.
That's right. And I shared that with the city manager, but
No, you shared that she requested to push the meeting back because Dr. Carter would not be here.
correct.
And I had met with Dr. Carter, and I even shared with the mayor that for the most part, from the school board members that contacted me, they indicated they was gonna be here. Zoom was not brought up to me in any of my discussions. So again, in our meeting, and it wasn't just me, your finance director was there too. When we asked the question, because he said he was going on vacation, he says he's gonna send Dr. Ritz. And we even asked, was she gonna be brought up to speed to be able to talk about this?
She was, but may I ask Dr. Ricks the question? Were you not told that he was gonna join us with Zoom, through Zoom?
Yes, ma'am.
She told me
I
that today,
the
too.
request was submitted by Ms. Davis, and to also ensure that your name tags and ensure that all those things was appropriate, and that those things were set up. And Ms. Davis reported that there was not a response.
Who would set up y'all name tags?
No, she,
We had, overall, there was no communication in the flow of how the meeting would be, and those Zoom communications were not properly released.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, we have some different numbers we'd like to present, if we may.
well, when the city manager's done,
I'm done.
okay.
Thank you, Ms. Oglesby.
Y'all have a
Thank you very
PowerPoint?
much.
Oh, okay.
I'm taking a moment to have a handout passed around that illustrates some of the points I tend to make.
Didn't tell us. I got one for each. Oh, oh no. Got two. Yeah, this is a thick something.
Yes, ma'am, I'm gonna pass them out.
Christine, how many pages is yours? I want to make sure I got.
Ms. Morrison?
So, the presentation that Madam City Manager just gave is materially correct. However, there are some additional facts that I believe need to be shared with the City Council, the school board, and the public.
Thank you.
I don't know how many people have this slide, but our beginning cash balance as of July 1st of '24 was indeed 3.8 million. Our auditors came and explained that to the city staff and certified and reconciled that that is our beginning balance in that account. And the deficit per bank records is indeed from the treasurer, and her and I agreed on those numbers of $4 million. However, that would leave only a deficit of $200,000. Secondly, we do have an additional local match funding coming that the city finance person told me about was $475,334 because we had moved the $330,000 to operating so that it could be counted towards the required local match. Also, when it comes to unreimbursed roof expenses, on the City Council meeting of August 14th, 2023, the City Council resolved that the $1,050,000 that the school system paid to the city would be set aside to cover any amounts that are over and above what the literary loan would pay for. We did have overages of $876,000 beyond what the literary loans covered. However, the city gave us back in 2024 $286,000 of that million. In 2025, I was informed that those funds are not available because they weren't brought forward into the following year by the city. So basically, we operated in good faith. Everyone knew that the roof project and HVAC projects were there and they were multi-year. And those are the major contributors to the deficit. Now, as far as budget amendments go, every time the school board approved a budget amendment, it was sent to the city staff in finance. However, there was no finance director for most of that time. So I met with the city's interim finance director, and we went over all of the budget amendments, all 26 of them, for year 25, and I put them into the format that she wanted to see them in, and that is your big spreadsheet that was passed out. I created that to show the beginning balance that was approved for appropriation and every budget amendment throughout the year, collapsing budget amendments into what we thought the council would need to see, and not giving every individual small dollar amount to the council. And we operated with this budget with no anticipation that the funding that we were promised would not be available.
Promise, I'm sorry, so you paid, you lost me at one point when you said that the school board paid the city
Yes, $1,050,000
from what funds?
from existing capital funds.
So you paid the city's money? Money that started over the city,
But it was earmarked for use for the roofs.
and that was done when?
August 14th, 2023.
2 years ago.
Yes, sir.
And was there a request at the end of the budget year for that money to be carried forward?
Yes, we've been discussing these budget amendments really since October, but really in earnest since February as the city manager presented.
Okay. City manager? Oh, did you have anything else?
Let me see. The budget amendments for grant revenue do appear to overstate the revenue. However, RDA, our financial reporting system, is only set up on a cash basis, meaning the balance sheet functionality is not operational at this time. So we would have to track in a separate spreadsheet the reduced revenue and the anticipated uses of fund balance so that we would not be overstating our revenue.
Ms. Tracy, I see.
Go ahead.
Ms. Tracy, you indicated that every time that the school board knew they would need more money, they actually sent over an amendment to the city.
Yes, ma'am.
Did the city send back approvals of those amendments?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So it was sent, but they didn't say the money was there to spend from,
There was no finance director, so I just assembled them in a binder and I said, here, whenever you're ready for these, here they
but
are.
they were never approved though, by the city? Okay.
Were you in the meeting on July 22nd that the city manager just spoke about?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And when they presented their facts and basically the spreadsheet that's showing that the school division is in a deficit, did you bring up these points in that meeting?
Yes, sir.
And what was the outcome of that conversation?
There was some disagreement as to whether 3.8 million was our initial balance, even though it had been certified by our auditors. So,
One more question, the money about the roof, you said it was being discussed. Was it actually put on paper requesting? Because I know you said it was being discussed giving the money back, but was the request put on paper from the school board, from the school? Was it put on paper or was it just verbal and talk?
it was in the city council minutes, August 14th of 2023, that the funds would be set aside, and it was a multi-year set aside. And I don't think that we actually formally requested the money until recently.
Okay, no, I was just asking because I know in the state statutes that it has to be written and requested. That's why I was asking, was it? Okay.
Actually, the roof that's listed at $712,000, that money was allocated and approved by the city council for fiscal year 23-24. In June of 24, we were told by the contractors they would not finish by June 30. So Darlene Burcham was our city manager at the time. We went to talk to her, and she said, no problem, I'll move that money from 23-24 to 24-25. So we've been going with that number all year long. If you look at what Tracy's presented, we have almost $1 million surplus. And the city's coming up with a $3.5 million deficit, and that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't, but when Darlene said that she was moving that money over, was it done by paper, by verbal? How did we know that we actually had that money?
She told me she was gonna,
Okay.
she told me she was gonna take care of that.
Okay. But she never got it in writing because I'm just asking because as a new member, I looked it up and it said those funds have to be requested by a certain date written. Yeah, or you don't get it. If it's not written and requested by a certain date, we don't get it. That's the state's code. That's why I was asking Tracy.
Could somebody silence the cell phone, please?
I apologize for that interruption.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And when you're saying that it's in the city council's minutes, are you saying that based off of a meeting that was held, that it was actually stated that that money would be allocated to be carried over to for the school board?
Yes, sir. In fact, they did give us $286,000 of it. That's why there's only $712 left. Well, let me say one more thing. I've been new to this position for 2 years now. There's been no city finance director, for me to go to. That's why the budget amendments, didn't get processed timely. And so I just want to say I am looking forward to working with the city staff and whatever finance staff gets hired to productively resolve any discrepancies that there are. And I want to learn from any mistakes that I've made and be a part of the solution next year.
Can I ask one question? Do you believe that a joint bookkeeping system, different than Edmunds, would be an advantage?
It would. The trouble with it is the cost and the effort to go through system implementation. There's quite a learning curve with the new system implementation.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
we've heard from the city that the schools approximately overspent $4 million. In your opinion, how much has the school overspent, if
She said the
anything?
surplus,
If anything?
200,000.
surplus.
200,000.
But I'm counting that 3.8 million as available cash, and I'm basing that on what our auditors had said. So during the year, from July 1st through June 30th, we did spend $4 million more than what we took in. But I'm trying to say that we have had unintended expenses like roof, HVAC. You know, we've spent a lot of money and absorbed a lot of the deficit, you know, in our beginning balance. So, but, you know, I look at things differently than the city does in some instances, and I'd like to work together to reconcile that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council?
One last question for me.
Oh, sure.
When we're speaking about solutions, would it be better to just create an account for the school board and just basically say, you know, this is your budget that's placed in this account, instead of us having to pull from the huge amount that's in the city's budget?
That's a good question, and my answer is this: it's a possibility. We can do that. The treasurer has let me know that we can do that. However, school finance timing of cash receipts coming in is different. So for this past fiscal year, DOE started paying us as if we were at 923 students, and they paid us that all year long. So in May and June, they picked up the pace and paid us what we're really at, which is 1,057 students. And that was almost $2 million that they caught up. So being that the cash receipts are cyclical like that in a school, I feel that we would always be looking for a loan from the city to cover any temporary overages.
The $712,000 for the roof was not new money. It was money that was already appropriated. It just moved from one fiscal year to the other.
Right, but as the law states that once that fiscal year is over, you have to go back to city council and re-request it. Am I right?
That's correct.
In a written form, not verbal.
In written form. So, Ms. Tracy, did you even know about that procedure? That you had, that it had to be brought back to the school board and it has to be reapplied.
Yeah, each budget amendment I did send it to the city the next day, but I was not aware that the particular 712,000 had to be requested in writing by a certain time.
Okay.
You thought because that was money that was set aside specifically for that project?
I did.
Okay.
But you've only been in the position for 2 years, you said, right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
certain things are still new to you as well?
Yes, ma'am.
But other people have been there longer. Okay.
I think the problem is we've sent budget amendments to the city to increase our balance, and they haven't been acted on.
But if they hadn't been acted on, then the money shouldn't have been spent. If you sent the request and if it wasn't approved for whatever reason, it shouldn't have been spent. Not saying the city's wrong or right, but if it wasn't approved, you don't spend it.
Well,
But not you, because you're not spending it physically. You're just fulfilling requests that comes to you.
every month Tracy's tried to reconcile that, and with no finance manager, there's no way to do that.
What about the missing checks, the $1 million?
Outstanding checks?
Yeah, the
The
outstanding.
outstanding checks, they're about 447,000, and I would like to formally request that the treasurer sign those checks and release them to pay our vendors.
Oh, excuse me. That's a whole different, that's,
Two different things.
That was two different things. So you're asking, Vice Mayor, if I may ask, is that you're asking for the $1 million of outstanding checks from the
Correct.
prior year?
Correct.
Like again, their system doesn't allow them to be able to track that. So
so these are checks that have been written,
Don't-
but we,
I don't know.
and nobody's
So-
cashed them.
But I do have to say this. We went over this sheet in our meetings when we met. And we explained to both Dr. Carter and to Ms. Morrison regarding, again, this beginning balance of the 3.8 million, because as Ms. Morrison indicated, we called her auditor on the phone and he conferenced in with us. And he did state that this number is what you could essentially consider to be your beginning cash balances. But as I stated in the presentation, you have to back out the liabilities as well. And he talked about that in that meeting, that those liabilities had to be backed out. So the number that should have been used was the 1.5 million that was there for the fund balance. But again, that still did not take out the 1 million for the outstanding checks, and it did not take out the money that was due for payroll. And so then any money that was left out of that was supposed to come back and be asked to come forward. And then the other thing that we talked about is the amount of money that the schools paid the city in increments of $60,000. And former Chairman Holt was in a discussion regarding this, was that the receipts that Ms. Morrison shared, it said the $60,000, and then it said school debt reduction. It did not reference the payments that it was specifically for the roofing project. There is a resolution that was passed by the city. In the body of the resolution, it states that it was appropriating that $1,050,000 into an account split between SP Morton and Franklin High School. That money was not brought forward to spend into the next fiscal year. I even shared with both Dr. Carter and Ms. Morrison in meetings that the $287K that was given to them by a former finance director did not have the authority from city council to give to them. And so that's the only reason why they even arrived to the $712K, because they kept saying that the city owed them $1,050,000 for the roofing project. And I said, and if council chose to give them the $712K for the roofing project, it would be up to them. But it still showed up on the sheets and stuff as if the money was due and given to them. And then, Ms. Donna, did you want to say something? Yes.
Ms. Babb?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I know there's a lot of conversation about the zero balance accounting. That allows the school to have expenditures prior to they receiving their monies. They get their monies from various ways, as City Manager Ms. Oglesby had said. They get them through EDIs that's coming from the state, federal. And then they get monies that are brought down to the treasurer's office in forms of cash, checks. Those are receipted and sent back up to the school's finance. Every EDI that we get, we send that information up to the school's finance team. And then it's allocation of each month that they get that is 1/12 of the city's funds that we have promised them for their budget. When they spend their monies, I get that documentation from Dr. Carter as well as Ms. Davis, the clerk, signed by them approving that those expenditures are approved for me to disperse. So when we do that, that money is in a ZBA account and we expenditure those, that account stays zero. They may not have received all of that money for that month, but we receipt it and it comes out of the general operating for the city. That way we can take that money and we can utilize it and invest it until it's needed. So their money does not come in as quickly as their expenditures.
Okay.
You separate that, I'm all for it. Not a problem, I can handle it. But I will forewarn you, there will be times they won't be able to make payroll. So it is up to you as the school board how you want to handle, as well as it is the city. I can handle both accounts. I can handle putting the money in that comes in an EDI. I can move it to the school's operating account because it is a separate account The bank has set it up to be a ZBA, meaning it's always gonna be zero, and the money is switched at the end of the day, midnight. Whatever that negative is coming from our operating account. It is up for the schools to balance those accounts, as well as us sending the information up for our account. When we balance ours, it shows every day how much is pulled to cover those accounts. It's a lump sum. It is not a per item. It is a lot of calculation. It's a lot of balancing. But I will tell you, I don't mind. I can do it, but you will have problems if that money, excuse me, is not coming in an EDI, or they haven't been expenditured, and we haven't given them 1/12. They won't make payroll. As you can see, what City Manager Oglesby showed you, for these months, I calculated it. I do not have the information of their beginning balance. I showed you this here, money in, money out. It shows you the EDIs that I have. We do it each month. My staff, they get the EDIs. It's sent up to finance at the school side, and they give us the codes, and we code it. It hits the general ledger on the city side. Then they have cash. Then they have checks. The city fund allocation is what 1/12 of their budget is that we give them each month. And then their expenditures. If you can see, the difference is everything in red is the months that they had more expenditures than money. A lot of it is payroll. That's why I'm forewarning you up front. We can make it happen. We can make it separate. But be known, some of those warrants won't be able to be expenditured until the funds come to the schools.
Isn't it normal with school budgets that there's money that's going to be expended before money comes in, because it's just the way the federal and state monies come in? You know what you're getting for the year, or you should, or close to it, or as your ADM changes, that will change.
There are a lot of
But
localities that utilize what we use.
Okay.
There are a lot of localities a lot larger than we have who have more monies, have it as a separate. We're a smaller locality, so what we're doing is we're upfronting their monies.
I have a question.
sure.
For me,
Yes.
okay.
You said that when they send the request, I'll use the word request, for funds, you do it with this EDI account. You pay them because ZBA, because otherwise they would be in the deficit and the bill wouldn't get paid. What is the process in order for you to ensure that you are the one who receive the monies when they do come in? Or does it go to the school and you expect them to let you know when they get it? Or since you paid our money, you make sure when that money comes in, it comes to us to replace that money that you've spent of
Us being the
ours?
city.
Everything hits the city's operating account. All the EDIs, all the checks that goes into the city's operating account to be able to expenditure to the schools as it's needed. It is all done through allocations of it hits their coding, and this is getting a little technical, and I don't want to get into the weeds of everything, but it's done by coding. Those codes are set up behind the scenes with general ledgering to hit the finance department's general ledgering.
Well-
I had preview to that information of their budget. The city treasurer is not responsible for the school's budget or the city's budget. It's responsible for handling the cash coming in and going out.
Well, okay, fine. So if we get, regardless of what the amount is, if you sent out $4 million, you should be ensuring that we receive $4 million. Simple as that. If all the monies come into the city, then whatever you put out should be replaced and it should balance out. So I don't understand how it's not balancing out, that there's any overages that are, you know, where they can't make it payroll. If you paid the payroll, then we should have gotten the money in to pay the payroll.
Can I ask a follow-up question before?
That would work in simple balancing, banking, and accounting, that might work, but their expenditures come in. So the way it's been set up, I've been here 20-some years, that's the way it was always set up, and prior to that, it was set up that way, so that because we are grouped together, it allows the schools to expend some of their expenditures before the money comes in for the state. If we do separate it, that covers what you're just talking about. But again, if their money is not theirs, either we're gonna come back to the city council from the board saying they need a loan floated to them for this month so they can cover their expenditures. I don't think
Well, if that happens, then when that money comes back, it goes into our account, and it's balanced.
It's a lot more accounting on that side. I
Well,
understand.
as you said, you've been doing this 20-some years. Why are we just finding out that these systems are not working cohesively? And what is the difference?
So what I'd like to say is, in the past, prior finance directors, the previous two finance directors and I worked out a system that I got an information on a daily basis or every other day basis, showing me what was available for the schools to spend. The last two finance directors, not speaking on the interim here because she's our interim, I did not start getting that information. So
Why didn't she ask it? Why didn't she? To me,
But you've gotta
to me, this
understand-
isn't. Just let me speak for a second. To me, this isn't really the school board's fault, and it's not the city council's fault. It's responsibility to pay money out and collect money is the Treasury, and ensuring that these procedures are properly being followed is management, whether it's finance from the school or finance from the city. But the ones who are suffering as a result are the children and the citizens who don't pay, that don't have kids in the schools. We're spending their monies, and we're not assuring that they're being replaced. And this has been going on. The finance from school says she's been there 2 years. And we're just, and the interim city manager's been there a year.
We don't have an interim city manager.
Oh, I mean, the city manager's been here for a year. Is not, as the treasurer, I'm asking you, is not the school system one of our largest expenses that the city carries? So would it not have been prudent to ensure that these monies were accountable for the last year?
So I will say this, it is not the treasurer's responsibility to know the school's budget. It is the school's finance team to know their budget and how they spend their money. I cannot take the fall for that.
Right.
I can take the fall of the money coming in and the money going out. That is my responsibility as the city
That's right.
treasurer.
That sounds very good. That sounds very good. But we're talking about the money that went out. That's what I'm talking about. The
So when
city's
it
money
came-
that went out.
When it was brought to-
So more specifically for me, right, because I want to piggyback just off of Councilman McLemore's statement. So let me give you a more specific example. ADM, right? We know it can fluctuate. Like the finance director said for the school system that it might be, the state might pay out one increment of money based off of 937 versus what she said they actually have, which is 1,057. So if the money is fronted based off of 937, the state gives that money, but it hasn't came in yet because 1057 is not what they have. But the city has already fronted that money. I do want to know, how are we tracking the fact, like when that money does come in,
Is it being repaid? Because it does fluctuate. So I understand, I'm not placing the blame on you, but more specifically, because of that ADM, I'm curious, how is that being tracked that we get that money back? Because
It's all done by general ledgering. The money coming in, every account that they get through an EDI, whether they get it through check, cash, or electronic deposit, is coded. It is coded based on what the city school finance team tells us where to code it. When my staff gets an EDI, it's allocated for the Department of Education. We send copies of that to the schools. The school team knows what that EDI is. They send that back down to my office for coding. We code it in the system that is set up in admins for them, for the back end of the school's general ledgering, for the city's general ledgering. I can't speak on behalf of that. I would defer that back to your finance team, the city's finance, but I know how it's done in my office.
So,
Ms. Babb, ultimately, you still saying, you said certain things is not your responsibility. So the school should know what they're spending, what they're requesting, what they have left in their budget.
Absolutely.
so the treasurer doesn't deal with budget. Treasurer deals with income and outgoing funds, getting it into the bank, or getting it into.
And when I get a voucher down, signed by Dr. Carter and his team, or of whoever is authorized to sign off on those, it is not my job to question it. When I was brought to my attention by City Manager Ms. Oglesby that there was a problem, I took it upon myself to fix the spreadsheet so that I could see for my own self without accusing anything of being wrong done. So I fixed the spreadsheet so I could see money in and money out. I did speak with Ms. Morrison on various occasions, as well as her other accounting team, and she did ask me about that, and the 3.8. I told her it was not something that I was aware of. She would have to reach out to the finance team to see if that beginning balance was accurate. I can only deal with money coming in and money being expenditure.
But you don't see the budget.
I do not see their budget.
Okay. So,
May I speak to Mr. McLemore's question? Mr.
I'd like to hear it.
McLemore, this system has been in place since 1961, when the schools began. 2 years ago, Bobby Cutchins was mayor, Amanda Jarrett was city manager, and because of all the grant money that was flowing through the school system, we have to spend that money before we spend it, then ask for reimbursement, and then it comes in and it all balances out. She was concerned that it was depleting their checking account.
Who's
So
she? Ms.
Mayor
Jarrett?
Cutchins at the time
Amanda.
said, let's move
guess.
money out of the rainy day fund and put it in the checking account. And as far as I know, they did that. Then when the money came in and it all balanced out, they put it back in the rainy day fund. The system has flaws, and we need to work on it together.
I don't disagree, and I appreciate that. But my question before Ms. Babb left out was twofold. One is, who is responsible for protecting the interests of the city's money? Whose responsibility is to ensure that our money is not spent wrongly, for lack of another word? And the other thing is, we have a perception from the city that there was an expenditure over $4 million. We have a perception from the school system that it was $200,000, and question as to the roof, which was $1 million. So you might say there's a difference, if you want to put them together, of $1.2 million and $4 million. We've got two entities giving different numbers. I wanted to know, does the treasurer have a number, since she put together the spreadsheet? So I'm just trying to get to the bottom of this, and really, I think what we need is to discuss the solution, because the problems have already existed, even if they existed since 1961, or they've existed for the last 2 years, or if they've existed in the last year. What are we going to do by the time we leave here to ensure that this problem is corrected? Besides, we need training.
So your question is, you want to know how much the school board owes the city?
Bottom line, the citizens at home that might see this on TV, how much do you think, or who says we owe what? We got three people saying different, or two people saying one thing, and or saying two different things, and I don't know what the treasurer, who in my thoughts, which I'm no expert, I ain't been doing it 20 years, but I thought the treasurer is the one who is the custodian of the city's money, what comes in and what goes out.
But
The
not the budget
treasurer.
itself.
No, she don't make budgets. She just covers what comes in, what goes out. So she should be able to say, as of today's date, we have this, we have that, the balances, and the school has overspent by not what the school says or not what you says, but what the treasurer says.
So let me make something very clear. The number that is shown that the schools have overspent is not the city's number. Okay, that's why Ms. Dinah stood up here and indicated that she went back and put together the spreadsheet to look at the actuals between what came in and what went out. Now, this is the other thing I need to point out because I forgot to do this previously. This $3.8 million that Ms. Morrison is saying that they started off with it as cash in the bank was taken from the city's unaudited FY24 numbers. So their auditor plugged this into their audit knowing that we haven't even completed our audit yet. So therefore, this number should have never been used as their beginning balance. And they're about to start their FY25 audit. And we haven't even gotten through our FY24. So if they were to pull a trial balance from us, it's still not going to be correct to give them a beginning cash balance. And again, this number here, the 3.8 million, still did not take out the liabilities that is shown from the school's ACFR book, would have took it down to 1.5. So if your auditors told you that this is your cash you had on hand, I would be asking some very serious different kind of questions.
Did you explain to, Dr. Carter whoever else?
We were all in that meeting together. When we talked to the auditor, we went over this ACFR sheet. This was one of our sheets. The numbers that the two different spreadsheets, the one from the treasurer, the one that they put together, we went over that. And at our very last meeting, and this was a question asked directly of the superintendent, and Ms. Tracy was there, and so was Ms. Dinah.
This is what I.
So you're not just getting it from somebody from the city. Because at our last work session, when Dr. Carter was presenting on a capital project of, I think at the CTE building, when he indicated that he wasn't aware of any type of overage. When we shared that number from off of the spreadsheet that the treasurer had presented, asked, you see the numbers, we're at the 3.6 million or whatever it is on that sheet over, are you okay with that number going out, stating that this is the amount of money that the school has overspent? And he indicated yes. So I'm a little bit baffled that this sheet came out again, trying to tell a different story when we went over this sheet before to talk about the discrepancies, even in this sheet, in that spreadsheet, and in this ACFR document.
So Ms.
Oglesby, yes. But you can call me Rosalind.
Ms. Rosalyn, I'm not pointing fingers, but our auditor is actually here, and I'd like to ask him himself, where did he get this number from? So if our auditor is here, can he please stand up? Because I just asked Bob, and Bob said he was here. So,
No.
he's not here.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Your dad is talking.
We definitely, as a school board, need to take a look at our protocols to make sure that we're not spending over, the budget that's been given to us or that we created. But what entity on your side actually does that? Because, I mean, it seems like, I understand that the treasurer said
Sure, and what I shared with all parties, and I have never backed away from this, is that the city has to take its ownership too in this whole process. And that, I know that we don't have a lot of staff in there, but we need to do our own tracking to make sure that when we are receiving information to be posted and booked into our general ledger, that it is accurate and correct. And hopefully we will catch some of that, but then again, like I said, some of this understanding of what you have been approved to spend and what you actually spent are two different things. And again, that number of the 3.8, if it was true, that is a budgeted number and not an actual number.
That number is what our auditors gave us because that's the only number they could have. And that whole report was audited last year.
That your audit is not complete because your audit is a component of the city's FY24 audit.
But the
Mr. Holt,
because your audit is a component and you're utilizing numbers from the city that have not been audited, that means that your audit is really not complete because there may have to be some adjustments that have to happen. That is not indicating that there has been anything nefarious done on the school's part. All I'm saying is that when we're working with our different auditors, those numbers need to be verified and not just taken as being factual until the audit is complete.
Well, our auditors say that based on what they have to work with and a review of our expenditures, we got a clean audit.
Again, your audit is a component of the city's overall audit. So therefore, if there's any separation or anything that is different, the clean audit comes when both your component unit that is done and the city's overall is done. That's where the clean audit comes in at, because there can be some things that needs to be adjusted. Not saying again that there's anything wrong on the school part. I'm just saying your audit is not finalized until the city's audit is finalized.
You indicated that we're getting ready to do another audit soon,
FY25, yes.
but you all haven't completed your.
We haven't completed 24.
So it's premature for us to do this now. And we pay for this, right? This is not free when they come and do an
No.
audit. So we're paying for audit that we don't have the actual numbers because you haven't completed yours yet. Okay.
Mr. Grizzard?
Yeah, I've been waiting a few minutes. I've been biting my tongue and trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to say this. If you have a checking account and you overspend $4 million, whether that's true or not, that's the numbers we have on paper. Who's responsible for this? And why have we let it slide this long and we're making excuses? I agree with Councilman McElmore. Something needs to be done about this tonight. However we're going to fix it, I don't care, but it needs to be resolved before we leave here tonight. We've put this off, and we've put this off, and we've put this off. I'm also responsible as part of City Council for everyone else's money that's being blown. Everybody in this room has had their money blown by this account going up. What do you want us to do? Raise taxes another 17 cents, a dollar? How are we going to cover this $4 million? Somebody needs to be held accountable. And it's time for this to stop. I'm sorry that I'm being angry about it, but it's time for it to be fixed.
How can you be overspent $4 million when your budget to start with was 3.8?
You want to speak? Yeah, please ask to speak, so we keep it straight.
I'm not trying to get mad at anyone in this situation. I'm just saying we need a resolution. And the comment was made that if we had to spend money on a different system by the treasurer for the school board to make it work, well, I would rather spend that money than come back in here next year with another $4 million issue.
So may I say something really quick? I'm sorry. So I just have one thing to say. So I've heard two things that kind of stood out from Mr. Holt tonight. I heard a rainy day fund, and I also heard, things have been done since 1961 and verbalizing, like that's a contractual agreement when you verbalize it that it's going to be done but not following up. just because systems might have worked with a handshake and a yes, I'll do it in 1961, it's definitely not the way it should continue to be. And I'm so glad that this has actually been brought up by our city manager and everybody else who has had a part in this, so that we can have a clean slate and start fresh. Because apparently this stuff has been going on, and people that have been in place for years and decades have not caught it. And so here we are. You know, people always like to brag about years and years of being in these positions, but it's been years and years of a hot mess, and now we're here. So we need to definitely rectify this. I stand 10 toes behind you, Mr. Grizzard, with what you said, but it is a new day, and we need to start fresh, including the city. We need to look at our charter. We need to look at how people are appointed and going forward with the knowledge of having municipal or government spending, financial literacy, including ourselves. So we definitely need to come up with a solution tonight.
I thank Ms. Oglesby for discovering this, because her.
It wasn't just.
I understand, and the finance teams for coming together and trying to find a solution. Our numbers are way off. I'd say they're $5 million off, because we're $4 million over here and $1,981,000 surplus. That's $5 million.
And again, please don't confuse budgeted numbers.
That's right.
With actual.
That's right. But the bottom line is, I don't think, Mr. Grizzly, I would love to leave here tonight with an absolute solution. I don't think that can happen in one night. But I think that, I believe if our teams work together, they can come up with some solutions and try to get to the bottom of this. We are in a situation. We're in a unique situation where I don't know how many finance directors we've had in the last 5 years, but we've had a lot. And that's one of the reasons our audit has not been done and is now being done for 2024 and soon to be for 25. But hopefully when we get our finances audited, we'll know what if that was $3.8 million or if it was $2, whatever it was. But you're right. We need a solution, but I don't know if we can come up with the solution tonight. Mr. Holt?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh,
Excuse me, Mr. Holt, but I'm speaking. I asked to speak first. I want to thank Ms. Oglesby to standing tall and being firm and honest. I want to thank Ms. Baer for not bowing down to the intimidation and you doing your job. Now, Mr. Holt, you have the floor.
Mr. Holt?
Mr. Mayor, I recommend that you form a committee that would be composed of school board and finance people and city finance people to look at the possibility of merging the systems together.
Well, I definitely think we need a system that works together. I think that's the bottom line.
And we can bring the treasury into that discussion.
Yeah. No, two complete separate systems that do not talk to each other. Part of our problem. Yes, sir. Dr. Johnson?
Yes. I have sit here and I've been listening to what's going on, back and forth and the different numbers and so forth. And we're not going to solve this tonight, but as Mr. Holt just said, we need to work on a system, a solution, as many have said, because the bottom line is our students, our children. We must make sure that our children are provided sufficiently and we move forward. Because what that does, it affects the city economy as individuals, companies coming in, et cetera, and so forth. So the bottom line, we must work together and find a common ground and a solution to move forward. Because we can go back and forth. It's not a thing of pointing fingers at one another. The thing is, what can we do to have a workable solution together to move this city forward? That's the bottom line. The city, the school system, everybody is involved. So We must work on a solution to make that happen. And we're not going to get an answer tonight, but we need to form committees. We need to work this out because that's a part of city government. That's what other municipalities do with their school systems. They work it out. We can do the same thing. We are intelligent people, smart people. So let's act like it and get the job done. Thank you.
Mr. Grissom?
I agree with you, Dr. Johnson, 100%. What I meant by having a solution tonight is to have that joint committee or something, and when we leave out of here, we need to say we're going to meet on this day, and we're going to give answers back to these citizens. That's what I'm getting at. I don't expect us to say, okay, it's this person's fault, $4 million. I'm not asking for finger pointing now. I just don't want it to happen in the future again. And I also don't want to see us get into a situation where, and I'm just going to use this as an example, some other department in the city says, well, they overspent by $4 million. Why can't we overspend by $200,000?
That's right.
So someone needs to be held accountable, and it's time for that action to happen with us being a new group of people coming in. Again, I agree with what everyone else is saying. What happened earlier is not working. It's obviously evident tonight. It's been presented to you in writing, and it's time to fix that problem and not continue to allow it to happen moving forward.
One more comment. Working together is good, but pointing the finger sometimes isn't necessary because accountability has to take place. Ms. Rosalind said several times, she has said, this person said, this person said. So she's been working and other groups have been working. No accountability is getting done. Finger pointing to a certain extent needs to be done. You did, you said, let's get it right. We have to take responsibility for our actions. Not say one thing in this group, then in another group do something different. And that's what's going on. Because she has said several times, she has had discussions, she has had meetings, she has sent emails. This person was here, this group was here, and still we're right where we are. So we do need some accountability and some pointing fingers to a certain extent.
So I totally agree, and I think that we should start with your former board chair, in my opinion. And that is, and vice chair. I sat in your last meeting baffled at how a vice chair did not know how to amend an agenda and had to refer to Ms. Davis to help. And I do. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not pointing blame. But I am going to say I think accountability needs to be held, which starting first at the top of the chain, working your way down with your former board chair and your former vice board chair, who is now the new board chair. That concerns me. That really concerns me. So I'm good with making that comment tonight. If the Tidewater News would like to quote that, you can, because I am. Accountability needs to be held, and yeah. Thank you.
Ms. Boone, 1 second. Mr. Mathews asked to speak.
I sit here and I just heard a remark recently about people talking about being here years. I'm one of those people. Been here 15 years. I was the only person in the last administration that did not approve what this body did. I told them don't do it, but they ignored me. They knew more than I did, even though I'd been there longer. Now, could you please allow me to speak? I wasn't talking about you. You had nothing to do with my hiring.
Oh, let's cut the crosstalk out.
Now, you talking about accountability? This is day-to-day operations. That's fact. This is not all policy procedure. You're talking about changing the system. That's all fine and dandy. You're talking about forming a committee? We can do that. But this is day-to-day operations. You sit up here, when the last administrator on our behalf left, they gave a going-away party that she had done such a great job. I said, no, she didn't. And now we're finding out that she didn't. Now you're up here praising the new job we're doing. When the new city manager came here, prior to her arrival, I reached out to her and I recommended that an audit be done when she arrived. Now you're saying, oh, I just want to credit that we found this. We should have found this a year ago, almost a year ago. Not now. So the school board, they do have auditors. They may not be right, but they got auditors. Who are our auditors?
Friedel and Jones.
Wait a minute, And also, they've got finance people. How long have we been without a permanent finance director? So all the blame goes to who's running the city. And the management is what's running
All right,
our
that's
city.
enough.
What you mean
you're
that's
talking
enough?
personnel issues. You're
That ain't
talking
personnel issues.
You are
That's
talking personnel.
accountability
You're out of
and
order,
pointing the
Mr.
finger where it
McLemore,
needs
you're
to
out
be
of order.
pointed. And you don't know what to
You
order.
are out of order. I disagree
Thank you to Ms.
totally.
Oglesby for bringing this to our attention. Thank you so much.
That's right. Ms. Boone, you wanted to speak.
They didn't listen last time either, I told them.
Yes, I did want to speak. As per what Ms. Banks said, I have not been on the school board for years. I came in and finished someone's in 23. I got re-elected, re-voted, repointed, however you put it, July 1st of 2024. And not once, being on the school board, ever did we have to revamp an agenda. Not once did we have to change an agenda. Not once was an outbreak done since I've been on the school board, since that last school board meeting. So once again, you were not privy to my apology to my school board constituents when I said to them that I have not been the best school board vice chairman in the past months, because once again, I am human. I am standing up to everyone in here because I am taking a stand. There needs to be change. And I am willing to start it with me. Because at the end of my months, yes, I admitted that I was wrong. I was not there. I was not listening because I was human. So if you need an apology, Ms. Banks, I apologize.
I don't need an apology.
You
I
can
need
take
you to
that
do better.
on, please put that in your, I apologize. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boone.
And please
All right.
put in the record that I asked for an audit a year ago, and we just got
We
it.
all know you did. It's been in the record over and over again. All right.
So it has been verbalized, and that's my only concern. This is not personal. I don't mix personal with business. Anybody that
we
knows
did.
me know that. Don't mix personal with business. I have said that more than once. But that is a concern for me when you say you did not listen previously. And I know you want to do better, and I hope that you do better than you've done before. And I accept the apology. I hope the citizens do, because it's all about money. But you just admitted to not listening previously. That is concerning for me. And I'm not done talking, and you're still not listening.
Let's not crosstalk. All right. I think we've rode this horse. Ms. Oglesby, anything else? All right. Let's move on. Mr. Heck, I think you're up.
No, I have another presentation.
Oh, you have another presentation. Well, good.
No, it's not. If y'all wanted to, y'all don't have to sit up there, but this is to talk about the city's internal finance analysis.
Well, I want to thank the school board for agreeing to a joint meeting. Thank you very much for being here. I know it's not been pleasant for anybody.
Gonna stay? Okay. So, this presentation is just to recap our discussions that we have had over the past several months, and to share some new development regarding the city's internal review, regarding the internal review of the city's financial status. And so I want to start with the background, the knowledge that I knew prior to coming here and what was not known. And so what I did know was that the city had a financial credit rating, a AA, by Moody's, and it was noted in our effort document of 2023 that the city had a healthy unassigned fund balance for the general fund of $13.5 million, and that the 24 audit was underway and slated to for completion in September of 2024, and the city did hire an outside consultant to assist with that. that the current finance director was assisting, but a new finance director was on the way, and that we had several projects underway as well, to include the radio, the school roofing project, the armory gymnasium, and the city courthouse. And so what was not known, again, was a number of departures and staff changes within the finance department, which did lead to inadequate staffing levels and experience. So there was no one who was there within the department who had any expertise in the city's current financial system, nor was there any institutional knowledge on city's practice, policies, and procedures. And there was, and I did not know the true state of the city's financial situation. So what did I discover in my 301 days since I have been the city manager? A cursory review of finances. I looked at the statement, revenues, and expenditures of FY23 and FY24, and I did note that there was not some transfers that was due to the general fund by the enterprise funds, and also the use of fund balance had not been moved to help balance out the city's finances, and that there was no alignment of certain revenues and expenditures, and admins did not match the city's FY23 audit. The FY25 city operating and capital budget, there was some confusion between proposed and adopted. There was no clear path, and staff did not understand what exactly made it into its budget. And it was uploaded incorrectly, and there was no monthly reconciliation or revenues of expenditures and revenues and expenditures. And also, too, the city's FY 2022 and 2023 audits were not hard close. And what hard close mean is that you cannot go back and assign something to that fiscal year. And so the consultant that the city had at the time closed the FY 2022, but FY 23 still had some journal entries that needed to be made and reviewed by the city auditor. And so also the 2024 was nowhere near being complete. There was some issues with the reconciliation. Again, the school's numbers from their audit could not be matched by the consultant when he received the numbers to try to get it balanced with the city's numbers as we was preparing for the 24 audit. There has been no funds restricted by fund category within the city's financial system, but all the funds are being treated as unassigned. And so that's a problem, because you do have capital projects that departments are relying on these funds from previous years that was supposed to have been restricted, not showing up as being restricted. And then there was no cohesive way of identifying and tracking those funds for those projects. And so there's also that the city had this habit of allowing end of the year department savings to be rolled forward. And what I mean by that is that you was taking budgeted dollar numbers that showed an unexpensed and then rolling it forward as a carry forward for the departments to continue to have that spending authority in the new year. And then also too, the general fund relied very heavily on enterprise funds to help it balance. From the electric fund, it was taking 2.6 million. From wastewater, it was 100K, and from water and sewer, it was 692K. Also, there was no separation between grant dollars and the general fund, and that is an issue because your grant period could run on a different period than what the city does for its fiscal year, and so therefore you should be balancing that money in the fund balance if it does not get spent within that fiscal year, but that was not happening. And then there is the other issue where the city has been receiving these federal dollars, especially with the opiate money, and accepting that money, but that there is no restriction of that money. It's just been sitting there in the general fund and then falling to the fund balance, given a not true fund balance in the end. And then there was an issue with the ARPA funds, again, plan versus reporting. There was a plan that was adopted by council in terms of what the funds was going to be used for, but what we actually reported to the federal government was that it was lost revenue. And so therefore you have several projects that were sitting in limbo waiting on and kept saying we have ARPA money for projects when they did not. And so some of the completed projects really relied on the general fund dollars to be completed. And so there was discrepancies in taxes, rates, and fees, ordinances versus city policy. So there was things that would happen across, regardless of the department, where things were being passed via a resolution, not taking into account that a resolution cannot amend an ordinance. And so shared that there was issues with the city's financial system. It's not set up currently to meet the city needs. And so there's no consistency in account setup and use. And in some areas, again, an account line is treated like a fund. And so the general ledger accounts receivable does not match its balances. And so when we look at our capital projects that was on hand, the schools, the radio, the armory, and the courthouse, and even DSS, the renovation of the new building that they moved into, I think in July, the funding issue number one is that the city approved going out for $4 million. $2 million was supposed to be for the roofing project for the schools, and $2 million was supposed to be for the DSS building renovation, the armory project, and the courthouse. The city borrowed the first $2 million for the school roofing project. However, the city was awarded literary loans for the roofing project in 2 phases, but the $2 million that the city borrowed could not be used for anything else because it was pulled down specifically for the roofing projects. And so therefore, this money was returned in December of 2024 with this interest. And so when that happened, that closed out that issuance that the city had approved back in 2022. So you have capital projects that was relying on that $2 million, not having the $2 million to go forward with. And so then there was another issue where the city had appropriated or budgeted $1.8 million and $1.7 million respectively for the courthouse and the Armory Gymnasium. But those, again, we're talking appropriated versus actuals, and staff was given the green light to move forward with doing the design on those projects. In addition to that, budgeted numbers was used to come up with $800K for the radio project. And that's a problem, again, as we stated before, with the schools one is budgeted versus actuals. And so then here's a funding issue. Number 3, where the city issued $7.6 million in 2023 and $8.3 in 2024 for your courthouse, your armory, and your radio. Where your courthouse project is estimated at $8.3 million plus design and relocation costs. The armory, we already bidded it out. We know that it's $7.1 million, but we have plus design because the design was not figured as part of the bid when it went out because it was assumed that money was already there to cover the design, and we have the $2.5 million from HUD. The radio project is $9.8 million with a large share of that coming from Southampton County, but the city shares approximately about $2.8 million. We're still waiting on $1 million to be given to us from congressional direct spending. We have already received $400K in grants, and 1.61 was allocated in FY 2024 in a restricted fund balance. So according to our FY 23 ACFR, the city's fund balance was about $22.1 million. Restricted, committed, or non-spendable assigned was about 8.6. So non-spendable, the $991,291 is the airport and leases. That money really should be over in the airport fund as a restricted fund balance, but it's sitting in the general fund. The assigned and committed, you can use those interchangeably. This is where there may have been some things that council wanted to get done that wasn't done but was restricted, or some things that staff might have brought forward and council approved that needed to get done but was not completed. So it's sitting in assigned and committed, and then you have an amount that is restricted at $5.2 million. And then your unassigned is 13.5. I have to note here that for restricted funds that are set aside, they're set aside for a very specific purpose, and they're stipulated by external sources such as a law or regulation. So if you have a debt payment, you're receiving funding from state or federal, or you have grants. And so with the restricted fund balance of 8.7 million, the city budgeted 4.5 to be used in 24, and it has a balance of about 4 million. Revenues from restricted funds were not brought forth in 2024 to offset the expenses that it was associated with. So technically, you still have 8.57 million that is sitting there available to spend, but we can probably correct that as part of our audit. Not all restricted use may have met the definition as I gave you before, as discussed in the previous slide. And also, to the note, the funds associated with the downtown district would be noted in your restricted, but it's not being tracked as of this time. So your unassigned fund balance of 13.5 million, it was budgeted 5.6 in 24. 765K is budgeted in 25, and 369 is budgeted in 26. So that leaves you a balance with 6.7 million. I get to this next point later, but I'm also asking for an additional 757K tonight, which will leave the balance at 6.1 million, which still keeps you above your fund balance policy of 15%. Your fund balance policy number is 5.3, and it will leave you with 6.01. And so this is something that I added because I had a council person mention to me that we didn't know where our money was that we borrowed for our debt. It's sitting inside of the Virginia State Non-Arbitrage Program, or sometimes called SNAP. And this tells you that we have 18.6 million still available to spend. And it tells you by those years and when the money was borrowed, what is sitting there for us to spend. And these numbers should be reflected as restricted in our FY24 and 25 budget. Now, the city serves regionally and locally in various different roles, and some of that is as a physical agent for the Children's Center and Early Childhood Western Tidewater, which Early Childhood Western Tidewater Smart Beginning is going to separate from the city and no longer will the city serve as its physical agent. And I'll talk a little bit later more about the Children's Center. And our regional commitment and grants, we are in commitments with, let's say, like the city of Suffolk for the community corrections, which is our probation program, the home program. And then we have several MOUs. And these are just examples. And we talked about this before, and I get into a little bit later too, is that these are things that come up based off of somebody bringing something forward. So this is things that we have to react to because there's not a consistency in the filing and stuff of these things. And so I shared this in the previous presentation about what the deficiencies that the finance department has, so I will not go over this again. And there's also the revenue loss, and talk about our credit rating agency. So during the time whenever a city goes and annex another portion, they take over that section of an area, you're also assuming those utilities and that infrastructure. And so you have meters that we cannot account for or even be able to cut off because they're undetectable. So you're losing revenue that way for any utilities that we have going out. There is a utility billing issue, which is the software sometimes, especially when it comes to your cooling and fueling recipients, where you have something where it says don't pay, and then the system may be doing some improper calculations, so staff has to do some manual calculations. And then we do have some accounts that's open to deceased individuals that we're rectifying, trying to close out. And then our credit rating is being reviewed because our 24 audit has not been completed, and we have until August the 20th to get that done before we be subject to a downgrade. And so some of the new things that I shared with you was that some revenues don't show up with corresponding expenditures. So on your agenda tonight is a request related to the Children's Center. So in the city's prior year budgets, the revenue for the Children's Centers was counted in two different areas. It was accounted for in the general fund and also the Children's Center fund. And in some cases, it was where the revenue came in, but there was no offsetting expenditure to reflect that. So it overinflated the revenues. So in developing the 2026 budget, it was not caught that the revenues for the Children's Center when it was appropriated to its fund in the correct area, that was also appropriated in the general fund, because typically you would not put it in your general fund, so there was no need to even search and make sure it was there. So to correct that, council is being asked tonight to, just for the budgeting to balance 2026, to approve adding $757K to the use of the unassigned fund balance, so that we'll be balanced for 26.
And that was already, that's money you were talking about a couple of slides ago, right?
Yes.
Right.
And so so again, like, the revenues was not reflected in the correct funds. Another problem that we had, and I'm stating this, and I'm not saying there was anything nefarious going on, but this is another reason why proper checks and balances need to put in place. There were two siblings. One worked for the city and one worked for the schools, and they were able to communicate with each other and send financial corrections or documents and stuff, and so without there being any proper checks and balances. Again, and I say this in case it shows up in the paper, I'm not saying anything nefarious took place at all. I'm just saying you just got to make sure you have proper checks and balances in place. And then there was issues where we had revenues and expenditures, where revenues were being posted to an expenditure line, so it was offset to make it seem like your revenue wasn't coming in or the expenditure was not happening. And then our budget preparation software with admins, the fiscal years were not loaded correctly, and again, people was using Excel spreadsheets to try to load up into admins, hiding certain lines, and if they hide those lines, it never will show up inside of our financial system. And so when we talked about the audits earlier, there is no collaboration between the city and the school auditors. And they don't see a need to do so. I mean, in fact, ours told us that they was told that they should not speak to the school auditors, and I'm going, but you have to. They're our component unit within our audit. And so the school auditors use unaudited numbers to complete the school's FY24 budget. And so therefore they're working on 25, as I stated before, which means it's still gonna be unaudited numbers used to give the schools their audit. And then there's no reconciliation of pooled cash funds. And so as of today, we still cannot get confirmation on obtained cash and investments for 2020-24, which is gonna impact our 2025. And I've already stated the note below that the school's auditor is using unaudited numbers from the city. And so what actions have been taken? I've held meetings with council, starting with my initial meetings in October 2024, to which I asked council about your financial perspective of the city and talked about the policies and procedures. I also used that agenda for the new members that came on in January. In February 27th and March 3rd, these items you see listed under there, we went into more depth to talk about the city's financial status and what was going on in terms of our audit, in terms of our grants and other things, and preparation for FY 2026, because without a complete year's audit from 24, there was nothing to be able to forecast or do the balancing for. So your FY 26 is just right now a placeholder until those audits get complete and we can come back and do a mid-year adjustment to be able to work out whatever it is we need to work out regarding the budget. And then there was a meeting on the 18th and the 24th, to which we talked about the preparation of the budget and everything that was going on, including the schools, in terms of the new ask that may come from the schools based off of what was coming down from their calculation. And then we had a meeting on the 29th. And on the 29th is where we started talking about there may be an overage that was spent by the schools and how we was gonna work with that and what was going on with the fiscal agent, serving as a fiscal agent as well. And then there was a meeting held on the 21st and the 22nd, again, to talk about the Children's Center and the overage. And again, there's been various written communications that have taken place with council regarding the city's financial status. And so actions that have been taken. I advertised for an RFP to do a forensic audit of the city's finances. I have done 3 extensions regarding our audit with the Virginia Department, with the Virginia Audit of the Public Accounts, and I've met with the VML VACO consultant to talk about some discrepancies in the work that was done. There's been some advertising for our positions, but they're difficult to fill. We're not the only ones looking for finance positions or any of our positions in the city. We're competing with other people. And so when you look at the salary, the location, and the city image, especially when it comes to those positions that are directors, they're gonna look at the overall city image and make a decision as to whether or not they want to come and deal with what is going on in that locality. So in the meantime, I have hired interims, consultants, I have brought in temp agencies, and have worked with college interns to help run that finance department. So what is needed? So to do the forensic audit is gonna cost about $500,000. We have those in, and it does not include, and I know the council has talked about wanting to add the schools to that forensic audit. If you want to do that, we will have to go back out to do an RFP for that. If we talk about updating our financial system, when the representative from admins came on and we started talking about how the system was set up, they said that they can work with us to get it set up again, but it's gonna cost the city to be able to do that rework of how our current financial system is set up. And if you're talking about seeking a new system, it's probably gonna cost a little bit more. Again, I talked about that we need to update our policies and procedures and all of that. And then these are some positions that we have vacant, but also too, we gotta get proper people in that department to be able to do certain things that's gonna help not only city departments, but also tracking of our purchasing and procurement, of somebody who can focus on budget and do capital and asset management. And it was put out there and said too, we can also reach out to the Virginia Auditors of Public Account to see what they can do to assist us with what's going on with our financial situation. Are there any questions?
I have one.
Go ahead.
Can you go back to the slide, one more, go back? The advertised RFP for forensic audit, you don't have a date. You used a lot of dates. When was that initiated? Or when did you advertise the RFP for forensic audit?
I don't have the exact date, but I believe it was around either January or February of this year.
It's right after I came on board.
Truly.
And where can we look, where did you get the number from of $500,000 being the cost for a forensic audit?
I got that number from the ones that responded to our audit that we're in the process of reviewing. So just so you know what I requested in terms of that audit, I asked for a 5-year look back and to make sure that they look at our federal grants and stuff as well.
So that's approximately $100,000 a year.
Yes.
And at a half, which is $500,000. And we were discussing earlier deficits of things of over $4 million. So that would be a small price to pay to stop the hemorrhaging of unaccountable monies that we have, even though it seems like a large number of $500,000.
It was $500,000 if only the city was done, right?
Right.
To do a joint one, it would be.
We'll have to re-advertise.
Yeah.
And I know we're right at when you're supposed to start
7 o'clock.
your regular meeting.
I'm sorry, because I just want clarity. You were talking about the $4 million deficit that could help cover it?
I was talking about we're not sure, but we're talking about millions of dollars in deficit. And this is just with the school system.
Right.
So no telling with the other 13, 14 departments what the financial situation is. So a financial forensic audit could expose monies that we either have or we don't have.
And that's
This is
why
correct.
you requested, that's
Yes.
why you did the RFP to begin with.
Last, but do you recall, Ms. Oglesby, that prior to your arrival, I reached out to you by email and asked you or recommended that when you arrived, the first thing you do was a financial forensic audit?
I recall you reaching out to me and asking about the city do an audit prior to my arrival because you said you didn't want these things to fall on me. And I think my response back was thank you for sharing that information. And then even when I arrived and you brought it up, I was like, the audit really should have been done before I arrived.
Right, but I mean, I've been pushing to get this money and these things straight from the time you arrived. And as some of our people have expressed, By the way, let me put this in, because I know I may come off very harsh sometime, and it's certainly not personal. It is because I was one of the, I think those that were here, was one of the greatest advocates for your joining our city as our city manager. And I spoke up very highly for you, and I've spoke in the budget meetings. I've expressed that I was very impressed with your finance knowledge and what you were trying to do with the finances with both you and your interim finance director. So I think you could testify that I have expressed that to you personally in those meetings. But I am looking at, you went through a plethora of actions and problems and things like that. And I am looking at a culmination. And when I looked at your previous position, I know that you had finance experience. You were the finance director for like 2 years.
I was never a finance director.
Well, interim finance director is what they said. So, and an assistant city manager.
Yes.
And so therefore, I would think that the financial conditions, you said you looked and you saw what our Moody's rating was and where we were at. But to know for yourself, you didn't find out a lot of this till later on. So in retrospect, do you think we could have been better served had we known this information sooner?
So help me understand what you mean by better served if you had known the information sooner.
Well, for instance, we had an issue with Treasury paying out monies that was over what we had allocated for, things like that. If that had been brought to her back in October, November, which is almost a year ago now, then maybe we could have stopped that from happening, because I don't know if it happens every month, every week, with these requests for funding or appropriations.
Well,
So-
if this would have revealed itself when I was here 8 days in October, it would have came out then. But again, like I shared with you before, a lot of the stuff that is coming forward that I'm identifying is things this is happening with me being reactive. There have been conversations I've had with council that I've had a running joke with the interim finance director, don't touch another piece of paper. Because every time you touch a piece of paper, it reveals something else that leads to something else, that leads to something else, that leads to something else. So as I am trying to work, and this is just one area that I have, talked to council about in terms of the finance piece, but this is just one area. We have other areas I need to look at. And so I cannot catch everything every day. So right now, like I said, I'm just being reactive. But a lot of these things I brought to you as soon as I found out. That's why I can name the dates and times that we met when we had these discussions. And so that no one can say, well, I wasn't aware of that. That wasn't stated to us. I blame management because management should have brought this to our attention. Management brought it to your attention.
Who was
This
management?
This management brought it to your attention.
That's right. All right.
And Heather,
Johnson, do you-
I don't want to cut y'all off.
Yeah,
but
we
I
need
think
to-
that there's a rule that we're supposed to start a regular meeting
At 7 o'clock.
at 7 o'clock.
Okay,
So I apologize, but
thank you. So what we're gonna do is adjourn the work session. We're gonna take a 5-minute break to reset and then start our regular meeting in just a few minutes. And we can do it now. I need a motion to adjourn. Any discussion? Vote? Okay. The city attorney has suggested that we start the meeting and then adjourn, and take a brief adjournment. So do I? I'll call the meeting, I'll call the 7 o'clock meeting to order.
They're walking off.
Yeah, Mr. McLemore, 1 second. The city attorney has suggested that we start the meeting and take a brief adjournment. Okay. So I call the 7 p.m. meeting to order, and we'll take a motion to take a brief adjournment.
So I would like to move that we take a brief recess of 5 minutes.
Second.
Any opposition? Okay. We're back to our 5-minute break. Ms. Oglesby, you ready? All right, ladies and gentlemen, call the 7 p.m. regular city council meeting a little late, but call it to order. Have a roll call. Dr. Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Kitchen?
Here.
Ms. Banks?
Here.
Copeland?
Present.
Mr. McLemore?
Present.
Mr. Grizzard?
Present.
And I am here as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please silence your cell phones and join us in the stand if you're able. Join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's a fine sounding audience there. All right, we have citizens' time. Anybody that is planning on speaking on one of the items that's here for a public hearing would be separate. We will call you up during the public hearing as opposed to citizens' time. Ms. O'Neill, are you here? Yes. Are you here for touch-a-feely, or are you here for public hearing? Or citizens' time? Citizens' time? Well, come on up. Please, as you come to the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address before you start.
Hello, my name is Kenitra O'Neill. Excuse me, my voice. But my name is Kenitra O'Neill. I live at Newport Village in Franklin, Virginia on Morton Street. I am here because I feel like it's important to me to let someone know that I have been harassed. My sons have been harassed, and I've also witnessed other Black Americans being harassed by the police force. I've written multiple statements to the sergeant. Haven't heard anything yet, and so I would just like someone to look into what's going on, because it's been going on constantly.
All right. Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you very much for your time. I should mention we're not allowed to comment during this time in reference to your citizens' concerns. Pam Lease of 1313 Clay Street.
Hello again. My name is Pam. I live at 1313 Clay Street. I'm here again tonight as a taxpayer and a concerned citizen. What we've witnessed in our local leadership in our schools is just deeply troubling these past few months. Key decisions have been made without transparency, public data has been misrepresented, and our community voices have been ignored. This is not just disappointing, but it's a violation of public trust. At the last City Council meeting, it was said that we need to move on for this, but how can we, especially what we have witnessed tonight for the Franklin City Public Schools? Ms. Babb stated that any item that she paid had a signed voucher by an authorized signer for the schools. In that case, they should be balanced in their own accounts, and they should know what they've spent and what they have left to spend. Even legally mandated responsibilities like FOIA responses have been disregarded, and I'm talking about the Franklin City Public Schools, not you all. That's more than an oversight. This is failure of leadership and accountability. We deserve better, our students deserve better, our educators and our community deserve much better from our government that operates with honesty, transparency, and responsibility. So I'm asking you all again, as our representatives, to take us seriously and address these financial concerns, investigate where accountability has been broken, and request that the former school chair board be removed and the superintendent. I know that you all have requested that in the past. I'm asking you to do that again, and I will be asking the school board to do the same. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Thomason, are you speaking on the public hearing or on the? Okay, thank you very much. That's all we have for citizens' time then tonight. We have a consent agenda before you. I have a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Move forward with the vote. Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries. Consent agenda is passed. We have the first public hearing on the zoning amendment for Reliable Pros Properties LLC. Anybody here to speak for that?
So, Mayor, before you open up the public hearing.
Yes.
I would like to invite Kelton Millhouse to come forward to just provide a quick briefing regarding
sure.
this zoning tax amendment, and then you can open up the meeting for everybody to comment on. And so this will be your first time meeting Mr. Millhouse. Mr.
Yes.
Millhouse is in our Community Development Department. He is our environmental specialist, but he does so much more than just that role.
I understand. Thank you. Thank you.
Good
Welcome.
evening, everyone, all of us.
I've been wondering who you were.
Yeah, it's the sharp guy in the back that's kind of quiet, yes. I am Mr. Millhouse. I'm currently the environmental specialist and planner with the Department of Community Development. Tonight, I'm just here to refresh or just to re-energize what was previously done. The first thing we're going to hear is the text amendment for the change of the definition of the term condominium. The Planning Commission had voted on it 5-1 to approve the text amendment. They took a clear understanding of what it was. It wasn't changing the use, wasn't creating anything new that the city would see. It just took it from being 3 to the fact that 2 units now could be termed under the term for condominium. This was done for an organization known as Reliable Pros. They were the ones who just brought it up because they had one property that they were initiated or believed would work, and then would work actually throughout the city because it would become part of the current zoning ordinance.
All right, thank you
That's where
very
we
much. Is anybody to speak on this public matter? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I called to order the public hearing for this zoning amendment. Thank you. Now.
Good afternoon, everyone. How everybody doing? My name is Johnny Cowan on behalf of Reliable Pros. For the amendment, it's just the fact that we're trying to change the state code says 2, and it just the city says 3. So it makes it kind of hard to, when you're building a single family dwelling, to say, because when you say it's a condominium, you got to sell the whole unit. Or I mean a duplex, you have to sell the whole unit.
Right.
And under the current, it says a duplex instead of selling single-family homes with 2 towns on the same plot. So that's what we just trying to get it amended to match what the state says.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions? All right. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else to speak? Yes. Oh. So I think if you could not hear, that the state code says that you could have a condominium with 2 units, but our city code requires 3. Because the state law, we're trying to match the city law to the state law.
State code, yes, ma'am.
Okay, that means that we're getting ready to build it.
No, ma'am.
No, they're already here.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
Mr. What I was gonna say.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Well,
Johnson.
Mr. Mayor, most,
Still in the, it's the second time. Anybody else want to speak? Third time. Anybody else want to speak? I'm going to close the public hearing. Okay? Dr. Johnson?
yes, Mr. Mayor, what I was going to say is, most municipalities, which are cities, confer with the state code, with condominiums and so forth. So we would be in line, coming up to date with the state codes, the new state codes.
Yes, sir. I agree. Anybody else? All right, we don't have a motion yet. Can I have a motion to approve?
Yes. I move that we approve to pass this.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, I'll take the vote. Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
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 And it's a unanimous aye. All right. Thank you very much, Milhouse. All right. Second public hearing.
Mr. Millhouse is going to
How
speak
about
on.
Mr. Milhouse? I'm sorry. Mr. Milhouse, you're going to explain where we are.
So our next one was the interest before the planning commission was for a use permit or conditional use permit. It's a use that kinds of steps outside of what's permitted principally within the city. In this case, it was for use for a food stand at a residential property. The board reviewed it. They looked at it contemptuously. I think they really did. They took their time with it. And we came back with a vote of 3-2, with one voter abstaining. At that time, we did notify them, the business, and they ceased their operations, but they are here tonight just to share their opinion, see what you guys will do.
And just for clarification, was a denial. The
It was
3-2
denied.
was a denial.
Denied.
3-2.
Okay.
To approve the conditional
All right.
use permit.
So now,
Excuse me, you said 3-2?
3-2.
with one
vote
abstention.
abstaining.
Abstention, okay. So if the abstention could have possibly tied up the vote had they voted to approve.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Open in the public hearing on a conditional use permit for a Touch of Philly located at 1004 North High Street. All right. Anybody wishing to speak on this? All right, come forward. Please state your name and your address, please.
My name is Ifama Williams, and I live on 1004 North High Street. I am the owner of that business. We are just a little refreshment stand. We sell water ice. It's like a very, very much better icy. We just decided to do something because we wanted to do something new, and we wanted to give the kids something to look forward to. We don't plan to stay at that location at our home, but we have to start somewhere. So that's where we were trying to make our start. We're hoping to get a truck or a location, whichever would be more affordable. But in the time that we have done so, we have brought families together. We've brought a lot of the community together to meet each other. And it's been a beautiful thing. The kids love it. They come over, they play. We try our best not to interrupt any of our neighbors. We clear our driveway out. It's a U shape, so the car come in, get their icy, they'll pull out. We don't actually play music or anything like that. So we're just hoping that we're able to do this until we are able to get into a store or a truck. So that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anybody else on public hearing? Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Tanika Williams. I live 1004 North High Street. I'm the mother of this beautiful young lady, and I'm supporting her with what she's trying to do. And like she said, you know, we have to start somewhere. So we were trying to start there to build up the money for a storefront or even a truck. We don't want it to be permanent there. I want my house to be my house, you know. But, you know, she's trying to be an entrepreneur and everything. Plus, we wanted to bring something from our hometown to Franklin because it's new. And, you know, it's inviting. It's fun, it's delicious and everything. The smile on the kids' face when they get it, and including the adults. You know, it brings joy to everybody. People want us to stay and everything, and we just want to do the right thing. So, you know, after the last meeting we did, you know, calm down and everything. So we just want a chance, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Come forward, please. Oh, okay. One more in favor.
Yes, my name is Gregory Banks. I live at 1004 North High Street also. I just wanted to clarify, when we were in the last meeting about this, that we were handed a piece of paper that said we had 16 violations. So we took it back to the health department, and there was confusion because we had no violations. And the reason is because there was no inspection. The paper that y'all had received that said there were violations, for some reason, is only the requirements for the health department. There was no violations because there was no inspection. We're working on it. We talked to them, and they said as soon as we can get everything the way they'd like, they can come out and inspect. I just wanted to let you know that.
All right, thank you.
That we weren't working in violation. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay, thank you. Ms. O'Neill?
My name is Joan Queen, and I live at 1008 North High Street. I'm here to oppose the permit for 5 reasons: traffic and safety, noise and privacy, unattractive appearance, zoning considerations, and property value. We have lived here on High Street for 12 years. My husband and I work very hard to keep our home nice, and if we ever need to sell our home, no one is going to buy our home if there's a business beside us. I'm not opposed to anyone running a business, but I don't think that it's fair to me and my husband and our neighbors as a citizen in the city of Franklin to deal with, if we ever have to sell it, no one's going to want to live in a home beside a business. Thank you. And I have one question that maybe I'm hoping someone can answer. I mean no harm when I ask this. I would just like to know, if you have commercial zone and residential zone, and you have someone come in and want to run a business in a residential zone, why have separate zonings?
Mm-hmm. I don't know that we can answer questions at this time, but.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
All right, now I've heard all of this, and I've read somewhere where their business was really booming and it was bringing the community together. That there was a young child there that cried when they found out that they had to close it down. And I don't know, I mean, I'm not asking anybody in here to put their hands up, but I think there are quite a few in-home businesses in the city of Franklin, Virginia. And I'm trying to figure out what stipulations were used when voting to not allow them to have a business in their home. And I'm hoping it wasn't for reasons that I'm thinking, but I would ask that y'all consider maybe, allowing them until they can do better. They're moving here from another state, and they've already said that they didn't come here to do it permanently in their home, but that was the start. And I think unity in the community would allow us to be able to give them a start at least. That's all.
Thank you.
And I'm Audrey Lee, 507
Thompson. Mm-hmm.
My name is Cindy Thomason, and I live at 1108 North High Street. And I am a resident of Franklin lifelong, and I've lived in my home for over 30 years. And I'm here to share my objection to the business A Taste of Philly being located in their home. I myself owned my own business in my home on the same street, North High Street. It was a consulting business. I've since retired, thank God. But I did own my own business, and I had to go through the city of Franklin, and I had to complete a lot of applications. I distinctly remember filling out the City of Franklin Home Occupation Application Zoning Clearance, where I had to state how much noise was I going to contribute to the area, what about traffic. I also had to have a sketch of my home office. I had to write a business narrative. I had to get insurance. I did all of those things before I even started my business. And I don't know why I would have to be required to do those things when others may not. But the real resistance to the business is all about the location. It has nothing to do with the applicants. It's all about the business itself. Their point of sale location is an open garage in the front yard facing the street. So the applicants, because it's partially outside, their income and their operating hours are limited by the weather. Rains, they gotta close. Too hot, today it was over 100 degrees with a heat index. Too hot to stand outside and eat a snow cone. So the location is the big thing. Mrs. Queen mentioned property values. I'm not gonna dwell on that a lot, but I wanna mention one thing. I went online today and I looked at some real estate in Franklin. 3 descriptions stood out. One home was described as a rare find in Holly Knoll. May not know it, that's our neighborhood, Holly Knoll. So it said a rare find. Another description said, beautifully landscaped home in sought after quiet neighborhood. How long will we be sought after and how quiet will we be with a food business operating facing the street? The third description said, set within a picturesque, serene neighborhood. Those images, those descriptions won't last. And I thought it was very interesting that our city manager mentioned city image is a big thing for us right now to attract people to move here and to attract applicants for jobs. So the image is a big thing, and this is part of it. The other interesting thing is A Taste of Philly appears on Google Maps and MapQuest. As the restaurant icon with the little fork and knife, you've probably seen it when you're Googling and looking for restaurants. So that is an issue as well that adds to this. Safety, I think Mrs. Queen mentioned that, so I won't dwell a lot on that, except there are health risks involved. Ice can be contaminated, bacteria, mold thrives in frozen conditions too. So if you're not cleaning your ice machines, if you're not making sure that the ice you purchase is of the highest quality, then you risk the health of people. Lastly, real quick, I'll mention cottage law. That came up, I think, recently. I believe Taste of Philly mentioned that they were going to operate under cottage law. Cottage law, Virginia cottage law, actually states that you are not eligible under cottage law if your product has to be refrigerated, frozen, or heated. That would eliminate them under cottage law. We have oodles of home businesses in Franklin. Cottage law has been here a long, long time. You have people who do sewing alterations, you have caterers, you have cooks. But here's what's different, why this business does not align with Franklin's existing cottage law businesses. Right around, I challenge you, it will be hard to find those cottage businesses. They have no street front presence, they have no signage, they don't have any of that. A Taste of Philly has a street front presence. They have signage over the garage. They have menus. They have tables, tablecloths, and chairs visibly present. I challenge you with the other cottage industries to seek them out and see if they're that visible. I do not think they are, and I know several of them. The second thing with the cottage
We've
law-
run over time.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And I am not an expert on cottage law, but just wanted to share that. Thank you.
All right. Is there anybody else to speak? You've spoken. Anybody else? Okay. Mr. Millhouse?
So I'd like to reiterate that the Planning Commission did vote to deny this request 3-2, with one of our voters abstaining. We've
Before he speaks, okay, okay. Anybody else, second call? Third call, anybody else? All right, close the public hearing. All right, Mr. Millhouse, we'll listen to you.
So, and in doing so, I did try to provide information after the fact, just so you guys were aware where it was at. Even after the vote and it was denied, we had spoken with the business, because they still hadn't acquired a license. They were trying to comply. At that point, they would have to stop operating before we came to see you, and that's where we're at right now. This will be the final decision.
Thank you very much.
And can I
Recommendation?
Thing, Mayor.
Yes.
Just so you all know, in your packet, you do have written comments from residents who support and in opposition
Yes.
of the things for you all to review.
Thank you. All right.
I have one question for Mr. Millhouse.
Okay.
Mr. Millhouse, how many people are on the Planning Commission?
We have 7.
7. Okay,
Apparently one wasn't there that night.
One wasn't there that night.
okay. I was questioning legally the 3-2
The number
and
of
one
votes.
abstention.
Yes, sir. So if it was split, we would move to a different determination decision. Yes, that would carry over. So I understand.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna go down though.
I'm referring to legal. If it's a 3, I haven't finished. You need 4, basically, to do anything. I thought to deny
There's 6
or
there.
So this body needs 4.
Okay.
And there was a quorum in attendance. I don't know if the Planning Commission has any specific, I doubt it has any regulations or requirements beyond the normal Roberts rules, which are that if there is a majority there, then the majority carries. But if there is not a yes vote, then it automatically fails.
Didn't you have 2 yes votes?
3.
2 yes votes and 3 no votes and 1 abstention.
Yes, sir.
So you had 2 yes votes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But without knowing what the law says in regards to the Planning Commission having to have 4 votes, we have, through trial and error, we learned that this body must have 4 votes. But we are not certain that the ordinance in which governs the Planning Commission, if they are required. So to say that it is a quorum, I have to agree.
Well, they had a quorum.
And not a quorum. I have to agree with Mr. Johnson that based on what we do, they need 4. So what the Planning Commission, based on what we do, we have to have 4.
Right.
But we don't know for certain what the Planning Commission needs. So we can't say if that was a legitimate vote of 3 to deny, it stands, or it still fails for lack of a 4th vote. But I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yes. That's my point. Does the Planning Commission, what is their rules about that?
So my assumption, I don't know for certain, but Mr. Millhouse is nodding yes, that they follow the typical Roberts rules. The General Assembly in the charter has required this body to have 4 affirmative votes to take any action. That is not how bodies
operate under Robert's rules. General Assembly in that specific instance has taken you all out of Robert's rules and said you have to have 4 affirmative votes. It does not follow that other city bodies have the same requirements. Those that operate under Robert's rules just have to have a majority of the quorum. There was a quorum that was there. And what the Planning Commission does, it makes a recommendation to City Council. It does not decide whether to issue a conditional use permit. It just makes a recommendation. It is up to you all to decide whether to accept the recommendation and issue it, or whether to accept a recommendation to deny and not issue it.
So it's only a recommendation, it's not a final vote.
Right, we take.
Correct.
We make,
Yeah.
we take the final vote.
We make the final decision.
Okay, all right. Mr. Kitchen? Oh,
So, it's not directed to you, this is just in general. As the Ward 6 City Council person, so I actually received multiple phone calls myself. I mean, I had one today that were not in favor of Touch of Philly staying open and running out of the house. Now, I want to be a fair person. I would love to see your business thrive. What you bring to the community, the more the merrier. However, I always tell people coming from out of town, whether you are a leader, a resident, you need to know your community. You need to know what you're surrounded by, who you're surrounded by. You need to know those things before, in order for you to be successful and to have the support. I'll start there. But secondly, I will also say that I do support the law, and I wish you all well, but I would like to see it done the correct way. And I have not spoken to either one of you all before, but I've heard from more constituents that have all been opposed to this staying open. So because I had not talked to you, I still have not talked to you. This is my first time actually, seeing you, hearing the story and everything. I can only go with what the people that call me has presented to me, and they're not, unfortunately, in favor of the business in the neighborhood. And I have to respect that, and I have to side with that. But I wish you all well. And if you would have came to talk to me, I probably could have directed you in which way to go. So I will always say, no matter where you go in life, whatever you do, get to know your community, get to know your city council people, and you actually could have found probably a lot of help there versus getting to where we are now.
now, Mr. Kitchen?
This is not toward you, sir, Mr. Millhouse. Ms. Williams, did you say that since you were turned down at the Planning Commission meeting, which I spoke at, that you have ceased operations? So you're saying since that night you have not been open? So to answer my question, you have not ceased operations since you were turned down by the Planning Commission? Yeah, selling cookies, okay. I like your shirt, by the way, Mr. Banks. So you're saying that added something to the menu when you bake something, that makes it right to keep on operating? So if anybody gets something for free, you do advise them you'll take a donation. Yeah, thank you. That's what I thought. Okay. The location, and I go by every single day. Have you had any of the neighbors had any close calls as far as illegal parking? So there's not been any occasions where people park on a road with no shoulder and have to sit partially in the street and open the door. Nobody has complained about that.
No, sir.
Okay.
Well, you said complain. People came up here and saying that, but
so people don't park on North High Street. Never seen anybody park on North High Street. I have not. Thank you. So how many days?
What was that, Mrs. Oglesby?
Oh, no, he can do it. The only thing I was thinking about is that next time, and this has nothing to do with this, next time there's a public hearing, before you all open it, I'll add some time or space for the person that is the applicant, have a chance for you all to have Q&A before you open up the public hearing.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
Okay, so for the rest of us, if we deny this permit and you keep operating without a business license, what incentive does other businesses have to get a business license?
Sir, if they continue to operate after tonight's decision and it's unfavorable, they will give them the summons to court.
How many summons per day that they're in operation?
That would depend on the court, sir, but we would send an initial summons to the court, and they will make that determination upon speaking with them after it's been served.
Okay, just to reiterate my main question, since you were turned down by the Planning Commission, you have not been in operation, not one day since then? Okay, that's all I've got, Mayor.
Okay. Ms. Copeland?
I support your business, but I just ask that you do it the proper way, just obtain a license.
Mr. Chris? Did you want to add anything else?
Well, I'll have to say this. I'm known to speak from my heart. And there are so many people that are operating businesses that aren't legal. And I've had someone also contact me also. And like Ms. Lee said, they said great things about the services that you were providing. Now I realize that we have protocols and rules, and I respect the opinions of the people who spoke in opposition. But I don't know if it's going to be any good for you. But I am in support of giving you the opportunity because you've come here, you're trying to do something different. We're trying to grow the city. I appreciate us wanting to keep the quaint aesthetic or whatever, but you also expressed that you want and have a desire to get a truck or open a location. This is not permanent. You've never asked for anything permanent. You're asking, can the city, I'm trying to do something good here, can you not shut me down? We shut down businesses. I had someone, a constituent contact me just yesterday, and I forwarded an email to the city manager where they're doing mechanics in the street. They're working on a car. It was very difficult because I understand the person who complained, the neighbors, this is not a garage and we don't want that on our street. But I asked him, is this something that's like ongoing? Because if he's just working on his car to get it fixed and get it running, have a little mercy. We have lots of laws that restrict people, and I would hope that you would take advantage of the opportunity that we have with the Franklin Southampton Economic Development to get a start. They have little start programs and things. I'm not familiar with all the details, but maybe they could help you. But in the meantime, I don't think, as long as it's not permanent, and I think it is within this body's power to give you something temporarily, in the sense of maybe we give you 3 months or 4 months or something to say, that's the best we can do. We can give you a little bit of time, but we're not going to just shut you down because you're trying. You're a minority business in a minority city, and you're trying to do something that obviously a lot of people appreciate what you're doing. That's the word I got. So I want to say that it probably won't do you no good, because whatever I say, usually my colleagues go the other way. But I hope that they will see an opportunity to help some citizens who are trying to do something.
Thank you, Mr. McLemore. Mr. Grizzard?
I do support your business, especially you being a small business owner, but I also have to side with the legal side of things and making sure that we do it correctly. I would love to see you strive and move forward. With that being said, if that happens, I will be glad to come back out and support you wholeheartedly again. If you notice, I have not been since all this legal stuff started, and I have to take that stance and position I'm in. But otherwise, I will support you wholeheartedly once this is done correctly.
And I too feel the same way. I would love to see you get a food truck or a permanent location. I think you would make a great asset to our city. But I feel like we need to do it the legal way, and any neighborhood should have the right to have their neighborhood protected, the values protected. I know you want to do this the best possible way, but I think the best possible way is going to, in my opinion, to do it legally. Mr. City Manager, do you have? No, Okay.
So it is permanent for this business. If you issue the conditional use permit and you don't require any conditions, even if you do require certain conditions, which you can do, as long as they operate this business,
Because it's permanent.
forever.
Yeah, it's not a for 4 months.
Couldn't one of the conditions be the time? Why is that can't be a condition?
It's just not the law.
And as a reminder, I do need to say that the conditional use permit would allow the use. That clears the zoning for the business itself. They still have to acquire a business license, and they still must also go through any other department.
Health
agency
department or
within the
whatever.
state. That's right.
Yeah.
So health department, building department, and everyone else.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll take a motion.
Real quick before y'all take
I
y'all
have
vote.
a question.
Yes.
I have a question. With the conditional permit, could there be a timeline on that on that permit, basically?
Conditions can be set by you.
Right.
But that's not
Now that's what I thought. With the city council, we can set a condition and a timeline, basically, for this.
But the city attorney has already said that's not part of the law. Law does not
But
allow
the
us to
city
do that.
attorney didn't say what the law is.
So that's why I was going to remind council about the document that is in your packet that talks about this very thing, in terms of when you're going to make your decision, the standards and stuff that you must comply with when you are making that decision.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say that I agree with Mr. Milner? Millhouse. That even if we grant them from our body, we grant them a conditional permit, they still need to adhere to the health code and those things. So therefore, we can support them, and as far as giving them the opportunity. And if you say you want them to do it legally, then legally would be coming in compliance with those other bodies. So we're saying that as long as you can comply with the legal obligations, we will give you a temporary time so that you can kind of get on your feet. And that shouldn't degrade the property value of the citizens, and they can go back to their other neighbors and say they're only going to be there for 3 months or so. The city and council only approved it for like 3 months for them to get on their feet. They can join in and help support their neighbor.
So the code section is actually set out, the planning commission, the planning staff submitted a memo to the planning commission on June 26th. It's in your packet. and it's on page 3 of that memo.
Section 2.
The-
It's an application by the president.
All right. I'll take a motion.
I make a motion that we table it to have a chance to become more familiar with what we can do from what we can't do.
Is there a second to the motion? All right. Any discussion on that motion? Yeah.
Well, because she didn't quote the law.
Also, I've asked all three of the family members, have you shut down since that meeting? And I know that they've been open 18 days since then.
Which is correct. All right, any other comment on the motion to table? All right, take a vote on the motion to table.
Nay.
Nay.
Nay. Okay. I'll take a motion to move forward to approve the planning commission's recommendation to deny.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? I think we've talked about it quite a bit. Well, we've done a motion in a second. I'm asking, is there any more? I said, is there any more?
The
We've
only-
talked about it quite a bit. Any more?
Right. The only discussion I'll have to say is that I'm supporting the constituents that reached out to me.
All right. Any further?
I just say the struggle continues.
All right, I'll take a vote. Dr. Johnson?
Abstain.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Aye. Motion carries.
Hold on, wait a minute. Was that
Aye.
in 3 ayes? So 4 ayes?
4 ayes.
Who was the 4 ayes?
The 4 of us. All right. Motion carries. But I would love to see you as a business here in Franklin, just not in these conditions. All right. City manager's report, 8 o'clock.
The first item on the agenda is to amend the FY operating budget to accept a grant in the amount of $1,037,314 from the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Development Services and appropriate the said amount to the Children's Center's to support the Children's Center's efforts to offer a variety of holistic services and programs to family. The budget originally included $840,762. So this is just to add the new funding that they're going to receive. And also, when we originally did the budget, we appropriated all into federal, but it's actually federal and state money. So this corrects how the revenue is coming in and increases the appropriation.
And this is for pass-through money.
This is pass-through money.
Pass-through money. Money coming in. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? I'll take a vote. Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
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 Abstain.
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries. Ms. Oglesby?
Okay, the next item on the agenda is an adoption of an ordinance to amend the FY '26 operating budget to move the amount of $757,540 from the unassigned general fund balance and appropriating said fund into the FY 2026 general fund to support operations of city government. As you all know, I shared with you in a meeting prior to this and during the previous work session, the need to move these funds to make sure that our FY '26 budget is balanced, and that also, too, it eliminates revenue being accounted for in both the general fund and in the appropriate fund related to the Children's Center funding, and that's it.
Okay. Any further discussion? I think we've been run through quite a few times tonight. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve agenda item 2025-58.
Thank you very much. I got ahead of myself.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion now? All right. Dr. Johnson, if you'll start.
Aye.
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 Aye. And Ms. Oglesby?
The next item on the agenda is to approve, to amend the FY '26 budget to move $5,717 from the unassigned fund balance to carry out a part of our MOU that we have for the comprehensive community corrections caseload. They're in the budget for $30,311, but the budget is actually that they need is $35,824.
All right. Do I have a motion?
I move that item 2025-59 be approved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Could you explain what this organization does?
They handle, in the city manager's report, you will see that they handle our interdate probationary stuff that we need for our caseloads. Community
Probationary stuff
enhance.
for our caseloads. What does that mean?
So,
Children's? Is this
so the
juvenile?
city is part of the 5th Judicial District, and Suffolk is the one that has the money for this, and so they handle the probation for the juvenile kids, the youth and stuff.
Local probation.
Right. For juveniles, right? Okay. So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Dr. Johnson, I'll start with you.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Thank you very much. Ms. Oglesby again.
The next item on the agenda is to amend the FY '26 budget and appropriate $3,100 from the unassigned fund balance to repay the Department of Community Development with the City of Suffolk for an investigation that they deemed was founded regarding a property that we did work for under the home funds. And this happened back in 2017.
2017, okay. Have a motion to accept?
So move. Second.
All right, I have a motion to second. Any discussion? Call for the vote. Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Abstain?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item on the budget is an adoption of a resolution amending the FY '25 budget to accept and appropriate $2,500 from sponsorships from the Franklin Southampton Economic Development, Inc. for use by the Development of Parks and Recreation in support of community development. And again, this will amend the FY '25 budget.
Okay, this is a correction. Okay.
Move to approve agenda item 2025-61.
Have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All right, any discussion? Dr. Johnson, you'll start.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries. 2561.
Okay, the last item on the agenda is a resolution to approve the creation and appointment of persons to the Franklin Southampton VA 250 committee. We met maybe last week or so ago, Carl, to talk about the state's American Revolution 250 commission that was established by the General Assembly to recognize the 250th anniversary for the American Revolution and the Revolutionary War and the independence of the United States. The VA 250 committee encourages localities to also establish their own committee, and we're seeking to join that with with Southampton. And this will also give us an opportunity to apply for grants as we're trying to do activity around the region to commemorate this event.
I've heard the report from the city manager. Do I have a motion to accept?
I
To
make a
approve,
motion
excuse me.
to accept.
A motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Dr. Johnson, if you'll start.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain. Aye.
Aye.
And aye. All right, motion carries. Boards and commissions? Dr. Johnson, you have a report for boards and commissions?
No, not this time.
All right. Anybody else? All right. We need to do appointment of, for the VASAP program, committee member for the city, and we have a nomination of Patrick Wilson from the police department by the city manager. I have a motion to accept that.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
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 And aye. All right. Council comments. Anything for council comments? Dr. Johnson?
Yes. I know, several, we've covered some of this, but I just want to raise the question again, and so it will stay fruitful in our mind. The first one is, does the city plan to reimburse the school system for the roofing and heating air conditioning project? Yes or no? Number two, if the answer is no to the reimbursement, then where did the money go from the $4 million from the literary fund that was supposed to be used for the roofing repair? What did the city spend the money on? In addition, 2 years ago, the school system gave back to the city an additional $1 million for roofing repair. Where did the money go? Number three, what is the timeline for hiring a financial director or other key financial positions as needed? Number four, has the council hired a facilitator for the city retreat yet? And number five, since the city council has voted not to raise taxes, how will it generate revenue for the city? For example, we need to hire a grant writer. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kitchen?
You want to answer those?
Yep.
I got three things, Mayor. I want to thank Chief Porty, Lieutenant Bailey, Lieutenant Wilson for being our security tonight. I think some boards and commissions think they're not good enough, but they're very capable, very professional police department. And several people in here at the last board meeting saw a police officer actually assaulted and nothing was done about it. So y'all stay safe and thank you. Next thing, if we don't have a dress code, I hope we can talk about one at the council retreat. We have people in here half-dressed, a T-shirt with a marijuana leaf on it. I mean, I think if we look professional, maybe people will be professional. Just hoping. Last thing, 2 weeks ago, John Osbrook stood there and voiced his opinion about a dysfunctional city council, and he was led out, which he should have been because he was out of order. But tonight has been another example, and I'll put myself, I'll say I'm gonna do my best to remain professional, but tonight has been a show. That's all I'm gonna do.
Thank you. Thank you.
So really quick, just to kind of reiterate a little bit of what was, I guess, the questions from earlier. So we are trying to move forward, but with moving forward, I believe we need to have solutions. And we heard tonight a very awesome, in my opinion, presentation by our city manager that talked about how much audits cost, right? But we also heard her say that our audit is not done yet. So when I come up for council comments and I say, hey, give us time, we're working on it, we're making progress, but we are within our reach of also doing due diligence by the taxpayers' dollars. We have to get our audit and our finances straight so that we can make a move to decide if we want to go forth with the city's forensic audit and the one on the school, which we heard tonight will cost a minimum of $500,000. And we also have this deficit problem, which we're owed money. So as we try to navigate through that, I just want to reassure our citizens that we are making progress. I apologize that we cannot snap our fingers, twiddle our thumbs, and it just be done overnight. It can't be. It is a process, and our departments are low. We heard that tonight too. I think that it was a very transparent report tonight, and I don't know how much more we can do at this point, but remain transparent with you all and ask for your patience. So, you know, it is disheartening when, you know, we may be accused of not doing anything. I think that we have done some things, and I think that it is still on our agenda to make sure things are done. So I just pray that, you know, you heard the report tonight, you understood the report. If you don't, please get with your city council person so that they can hopefully elaborate it in a most transparent and truthful way. And just thank you for your patience.
I agree with Ms. Banks' comments. Thank you to Ms. Oglesby as well as her staff for a very transparent presentation.
Nakamura?
No comment. No comment.
Mr. Grizzard?
I'll leave mine to Audrey.
I'd like to thank Ms. Oglesby and the staff as well. My biggest thing is I still would love to see us continue to work towards a resolution to these issues we have, and I believe we are going in that direction. I just wanted to make it clear that, in my personal opinion, that it's time for change and we need to be transparent, but we need to do things correctly. And I agree with getting this audit completed first. We definitely need to decide if we need to go in with the school system or not, but we will keep you apprised of that and make sure that we do things correctly.
I wanted to comment that I think that I agreed with I think it was Bob Holt that suggested a committee be formed to come up with a better and new joint accounting system. I like that idea, and I think that those people ought to be appointed by the school board and by council to come together and put people for both the city's professional staff and the school's professional staff to design not design, but to look at various accounting systems. I don't think we have all of our answers yet, but our answers are closer than they've ever been before, and I think we aired some laundry tonight. Well, it wasn't always pretty laundry, but it was being aired, and I think the city did something through Ms. Oglesby and her interim finance director, who I wish would be our finance director, but anyway, I can't say that. I didn't say that. It's just, if Ms. Oglesby had not dug deep looking at our finances and trying to figure out where everything was, we would not know how far off we are. I don't believe in my mind that Ms. Morrison or anybody else was trying to steal money from the city. I think it was just some bookkeeping infamiliarities and systems that don't work together, and I think it's just a lot of issues, but I don't know what all of them are. But I also want to take just a moment and congratulate Mr. McLemore on a wonderful Juneteenth celebration. I went to a number of the events that he and his committee put together, both at the Barrett's Landing and at the Martin Luther King Center, and I was totally impressed with every step of everything that was done, as well as the city's. The city's celebration was wonderful as well, but the award ceremony you put together and the roundtable discussion that was had after that, Mr. Grizzard and I were both there. I was just very impressed with what came out what was said, and particularly the award ceremony. I was very moved by that, and I thank you for doing that. Thank you very much. All right. All right. We report on pending items. Literary fund second half.
Sure. The city received notice that the literary loans for the SP Morton Elementary School is going to be finalized. The total amount of the issuance for the literary fund was $770,883. So there was some left over from that amount. Once it becomes permanent, the city then will assume making those payments for that, and that's going to start in 2026. But the temporary amount that needs to be paid back on the interest of $6,000, that falls to the schools.
All right. And then the SIPSA?
And
no, I'm sorry, SIPSA governor's appointment, okay.
So I mentioned this to council before, that SIPSA is in a particular situation where all of the governor appointments are coming off at the end of this year. Franklin's representative is not allowed to be reappointed. In fact, she has even moved out of the area, but she can continue her term into the end of the year. So we would need to get 3 names to submit to the governor in terms of who we would like to have represent the city on the SIPSA board, and it cannot be an elected official. So you all should be asking for and getting names so that we can give a recommendation to the governor, and it is due, I think, in November for that to take place.
All right.
Question, can it be an appointed official? Not an elected official, but somebody who's been appointed to one of the other boards? Can it be an appointed official?
It probably can. I get some more clarification on that.
All right. Council
And then for
retreat?
your council retreat, I did reach back out to the vendors that I originally had to do the facilitate your facility, and only one was available, and that is Kathy Lewis. So that will be the person who will facilitate our meeting on August the 16th. I was going to say 26th.
8/16, correct.
What is the cost?
Her cost is less than $6,000, and then you have the rental cost. I can get you the total number. How about I do that? And then the last thing you have is the 2025 VML conference that's been held in Roanoke. I know that 2 council members have indicated that they would like to attend, and I didn't know if there wanted to be more council members who would like to attend the conference. I think I put a sheet in your packet that gave the date for the conference.
I think it was in the email. Not sure. I don't see it here. Nope.
It is October the 12th through October the 14th, and it's in Roanoke.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to go.
Okay, so then what I'm hearing is that Dr. Johnson, Mr. Kaplan, Mrs. Banks, and Mr. McLemore would like to attend.
Oh,
I'll let you know.
Okay. Either way, I will have to just advertise it and say for this period that members of council would be attending. It may be.
And we want to make sure that if we, I'm sorry.
It's the October the 11th through October the 12th through the 14th. But as far as for the Mayor's Institute, Mayor, you start on the 11th.
Okay. And very important that if you sign up to go, you need to go, because you lose the money for the registration and the hotel if you don't show up. Okay. All right.
And we get reimbursed for travel, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Mileage and.
Because in 15 years, I ain't never been reimbursed for travel.
Okay.
What was the retreat date?
12th through October 12th through 14th.
Retreat.
Oh, treat. I'm sorry. 8/16. 8/16. All right. So,
Quick before you move to the next item on the, if you don't mind me, I just want to say that, we have staff stepping in to help us out in recording these meetings, and all of them came out of the Parks and Recreation Department. So I just want to take some time to recognize those who came and got the training to do that. And that is JaVale Graham, Belly Wilkerson, Ryan Godwin, and Mary Vick.
okay. Thank you very much.
And tonight we have Bailey and JaVale.
Okay. Can we go to Mr. Hex? It was going to be in the work session, or does that have to go back to the work session?
You will have to amend your agenda to do that if you want to, or
And
we
then-
can bring it back to a regular work session for him to do that presentation.
Okay, before we go into closed session? That we can wrap him up as soon as
No.
he's finished closed session? I mean, as soon as he's finished his presentation and closed?
So his presentation, he's no presentation in close, it's a discussion. So the presentation that he was gonna do in open in the work session, we ran out of time.
Okay.
So the suggestion was to bring him back for a work session to do that portion.
Okay.
But he still has his close item that we need to do
That's
in
what I meant.
close.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, do I have a motion for closed session?
I move that the City Council of Franklin, Virginia convene to a closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711 for the following. A-3, discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose or for the disposition of public-held real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, and B, A6, for the purpose of discussion or consideration of the investment of public funds where competition or bargaining is involved, where if made public initially, the financial interest of the city would be adversely affected, specifically regarding Southeastern Public Sanitation Authority, and C, A7, for consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation or briefing in open meetings would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body, and DA1 for the purpose of discussion, consideration, or interviews for prospective candidates for employment.
All right, I have a motion to go into closed session. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? I'll take the vote. Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
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 And aye. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going into closed session. Thank you so much. We'll go back to open at the end.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, I'm live. I have a motion to go back into open session. Yeah. Mics are hot.
Pursuant to the requirements of Virginia Code Section 2.2-3712, I move that the City Council of Franklin, Virginia reconvene to open meeting.
All right, step number 2. Mayor states, any member of the public body, no, we could, see, I've got a cheat sheet. The cheat sheet is not in the right order. Anyway.
Whose fault is that, Mr. Mayor?
Well, I don't write the cheat sheet. All right.
I move
I
that
have-
each city council member certify that to the best of his or her knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded.
All right. Any member of the public body who believes that a that there was a departure for the requirements of clauses 1 and 2 shall so state prior to vote, indicating the substance of the departure that in his or her judgment had taken place. The statement shall be recorded in the minutes of the public body. Okay. So I do a roll call for certification. Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Certify?
I certify.
Okay.
I certify.
I certify.
Certified.
I certify.
And I certify. I feel like I've left something out, but I guess not. All right. Do I motion for adjournment?
Second.
I did motion. I need the motion. So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Anybody opposed? Okay.